All right. So, my name is JC, and I have the honor of representing the South Carolina Schools Network with Holzfire. Our mission is to identify and promote healthy eating and active living strategies in South Carolina public schools that empower key stakeholders and encourage collaboration among those seeking to improve student health and academic achievement.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, JC, for always kicking us off. My name is Erica Ayers. I'm the school wellness consultant with the South Carolina Department of Public Health, and I also serve as the executive director for the South Carolina Governor's Council on Physical Fitness. The mission of the Governor's Council aligns with the mission of Pulsepire as in the schools network, as in we are in the business of advancing the health of all South Carolinians, specifically through physical activity. So we've been working in collaboration with Holzbauer Schools Network for several years now. And as you all know, if this is not your first time here, this webinar series is an example of that collaboration. So the purpose in our webinar series is to enhance the collaboration between schools and communities using the whole school, whole community, whole child model as a framework to support students' health. So today we're going to be focused on community involvement, specifically around access to physical activity opportunities. So we're going to open up our poll for the morning and find out a little bit more about who you are in our audience to give our speakers an idea. So if you take a second and respond to that. All right, JC, I'm going to pass this on to you. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Erica. And thanks to everyone for answering our poll to get us started with this awesome session. A little bit about what we will learn today. Today, we will focus on active transportation and how it can benefit schools and students. We will learn about the key principles of active transportation, discover strategies for integrating it into school programs and curricula, and explore practical ways schools can promote physical activity through walking, biking, and other active commuting options. This session is ideal for educators, school administrators, and community leaders looking to support healthier, more active school environments. We will be learning from Dara Brown and Ashley Cox. Dara completed her MPH from the Arnold School of Public Health in 2001. She has spent almost 25 years working in various aspects of physical activity, health education, and behavior change. Dara completed the physical activity and public health course in 2022, which opened up her eyes to the role of built environment. In 2023, Dara led a local West Columbia Casey team in South Carolina's inaugural Walkability Action Institute and became a 2023 National Walking College Fellow with America Walks. Now she serves as the Active Communities Coordinator for the Department of Public Health's Nutrition, Physical Activity, and Obesity section, where she facilitates a state walkability collaborative and serves as a state level walkability expert for stakeholders around South Carolina. Ashley holds a master's in healthcare administration and has conducted 12 years of community healthcare work within the WNC and upstate region Carolinas, with an emphasis on connecting marginalized communities to resources that facilitate quality of life. She serves with Holspire as the Mission Services Lead, working with local communities on programs, policies, and projects that enhance walkability and active transportation across the state of South Carolina. And with that, I will turn it over to our outstanding presenters.
Thank you, JC and Erica, for welcoming us. Good morning, everyone. I'm just kind of watching the chat, which is over my head, and it's great to see names that I know and to hear names that I haven't met, but to see the great diversity from around the state who have joined us this morning. So as stated, my name is Dara Brown, and I'm the Active Communities Coordinator for the Nutrition, Physical Activity, and Obesity section at the South Carolina Department of Public Health. You'll hear from my colleague Ashley Cox in just a moment, and we're here today to talk to you about how schools and communities provide access for physical activity through the built environment. So next slide, please. So As my favorite caterpillar once said, who are you? But also, I would like to know, why are you here? So we have an idea of who you are. You've introduced yourself, but if you could tell us what makes you interested in this topic, that will really help us a lot. So if you would write that in the chat, why are you here? Why are you participating today? And if it's for continuing education credit, that's legitimate. So just go ahead and take a moment, put that in the chat for us, please. Thank you. Okay, Mark, looking to maintain momentum. Lori, I believe improvements in the built environment are foundational to community health. Mandy, I'm the district health and PE coordinator, and my district is focusing on becoming Blue Zone certified. Awesome. Michelle, interested in learning more about school walkability and safety. Ooh, everything came in at once. All right. Benjamin, frustrated by lack of walkability, would love to know more. Myra, interested in learning how our team can further support physical activity for children through policy systems and environmental changes. All right. Well, you guys are on a roll now, so I'm not going to be able to read all of them, but I appreciate your input. Keep them coming. And if something pops out to me, ooh, I mean, Amanda's here for continuing educate. I love it. I understand. Awareness in schools, learning more, to be able to provide resources in the community. I want to better support. I'm personally interested in improving physical activity in walkable communities. Nice. Very nice, you guys. All right. Thank you so much. So I use the term built environment, but I want to make sure we're all on the same playing field and understand what is built environment. Next slide, please. So you may remember these books from your childhood, the Busy, Busy Town books. For decades, they've been inspiring the future community planners and traffic engineers and elected officials, and still to this day are some of the best examples of built environment. The built environment encompasses all human-made spaces and structures that form a community, including buildings like schools and libraries, roads, infrastructure that provides services like water and internet, public spaces like parks and playgrounds. It's the physical setting where people live, work, and play. And your built environment can impact daily life and your health and well-being. So that's a big statement. Let's talk more about that whole impact on health and well-being. So think about it for a second. How do you think the environment impacts your health? Go ahead and throw that in the chat for me. How do you think the built environment impacts your health? Physical safety, influence the choices, suggests to you what you should be doing, eating, moving. Yeah, can present barriers, absolutely. Opportunities to move without needing, impacts my mental health, absolutely, and the choices of where I go and how I get there. Connects me to people, socialization. The ability to work, live, and play in a community that makes it safe and easy to maintain a healthy, beautiful life or physical, healthful lifestyle. Gives you more sense of belonging. It can be a barrier to healthy lifestyle behaviors or reinforce unhealthy behaviors. Absolutely. Internal battle for health is hard, made worse when battling the environment too. Good math. Nice. I'll let you guys keep thinking about that. I'm going to keep going. So Now that we kind of know the definition of built environment, basically where you live can make an impact on your health, let's look at it just from a transportation standpoint. So next slide, please. So let me share this diagram with you from the Journal of Transport and Health. We'll break it down. On your left, you have different types of environments, such as roads and how they're designed. Are there sidewalks along your roads? Do you have protected bike lanes? Are there sufficient and inviting bus stops that you would want to use if you're riding the bus? You have land use and walkability that speak to how a community is designed. Can you even walk to school? Or can you walk to get lunch on your lunch break? Do you have to drive for every errand that you run? And when you do walk, bike, or roll in your community, do you feel safe? Is it an inviting environment? Do you feel the environment supports your activity, whether it's by choice or necessity? And finally, there's lots of research on green spaces like parks and mini parks as not only places for people to go for recreation, like to walk and to swing, but also as a positive contributor to mental health, a place to be in nature and socialize and connect with community members. So as we move to our right in this diagram, your environments will dictate how you travel and your activity patterns because you're less likely to walk to the corner pharmacy if there are no sidewalks or crosswalks. And that all feeds into the behaviors and what you're exposed to. Your behavior and exposures will elicit a biological response, which will then lend itself to potential chronic diseases. Do you see now why we care about a community's built environment as a health issue? So next slide, please. So what exactly is walkability? All right, so we're going to do a chat fall. So listen to these instructions. Don't type yet. Take a moment to think. What images come to your head? What words come to your head when you hear the word walkability? What comes to mind? And when I say 3, you'll hit enter and we'll just have this long running chat pop up, okay? So start to think, what is walkability? What comes to your head? Start to type, but don't hit enter yet, and I'll start to count. 1, start typing. 2, hopefully you're finishing your thought. Don't hit enter yet. Remember, the question is, what is walkability? All right, ready? 3, hit enter. Let's see what we got. All right. All the words. We have all the words. All right, so let me scroll back up to the top here. So we have access, ability to move safely, sidewalks, safe sidewalks, 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 sidewalks. Ross, I hope you're getting all this. Safe and secure, beautiful locations, wide, clean, connected sidewalks, options, being able to walk and move around a community, kept up sidewalks, more sidewalks, sidewalks, bike lanes, parks, trails, community areas, people, schools, safety, safe and connected streets and lighting, visibility and welcoming to all pedestrians, sidewalks, more sidewalks, clean and clear walking spaces. Wow, that is a mouthful, you guys. So that's a lot. You guys pretty much said it all. Next slide, please. So thinking about that, let me just add, so there are a lot of different reasons a community might be interested in walkability, like from an economic standpoint, safety. We've already kind of mentioned the health, but even just for overall better community design so that people can get around more easily, or even the environmental impacts. There are some positive environmental impacts that come from increased walkability. And as you just saw in the chat, that doesn't mean everyone agrees exactly what walkability is, even though there's a kind of overriding idea that sidewalks play a role. especially if you're coming from it from different perspectives. So if you're a economic developer, you have a different idea of walkability versus someone who works in public health versus someone who may be a traffic engineer. So you have these different ideas. So for today, let's agree on these following definitions. Next slide, please. Okay, my favorite subject in school was English, so I've kind of broken this down like a dictionary. So walkability is an adjective that refers particularly to the environment. And that environment, if it's walkable, allows you to plan and move around your community using various transportation methods, including driving, walking, biking, and accessing other transit systems. Make sense? It's an adjective that describes the environment. And if the environment is considered walkable, it allows you these wide-ranging abilities of moving around. Does that make sense? Next slide. Thank you. So active transportation is human-powered mobility. That includes things like bicycles, electric bikes, wheelchairs, scooters, skateboards, and walking. Anything that you're using outside of a car, basically. So putting that together, next slide. Walkable communities encourage active transportation, which helps to incorporate physical activity into daily life. And that includes before and after school and even on the weekends. So if you're looking at just the school environment, this would be the ability to walk or bike to school, or walk to bike to school, or walk to bike home, or even on the weekends, being able to access the playground if you had an open community use agreement, or just being able to access other parts of the community. Next slide, please. All right. So my role in particularly is at the Department of Health is primarily at the state and regional level, working with agencies that impact your community's ability to create these walkable places that encourage active transportation. So let me share just a little bit of what has happened thus far. So as JC mentioned, we had a successful Walkability Action Institute, the first one in South Carolina's history. We gathered information from over 40 stakeholders across the state to inform our next steps, which led to the hiring of Ashley and myself. We've engaged with transportation and planning partners. We've started a statewide collaborative for walkability, and those are state and regional partners. And we've also recruited and trained 7 communities this year just to be able to take action in their community. So let's talk a little bit more about the state collaborative. Next slide, please. So currently, the state collaborative is working to create a common language. You just saw that it's important that everyone agrees to some shared meaning in order to best communicate. So as we do that, that helps us to make sure that everyone's on the same page and that we're not talking past one another. We're also working on relationship building among the agencies so that you're not emailing into like the great beyond, but you can put a face and maybe even a voice to a name. And that's important for us to keep the lines of communication open. With that comes tearing down the silos and working on creating processes that will improve interagency coordination, as well as collecting and creating resources that can be used by other state partners and by you, the local communities. So that's what we're doing at the state level to hopefully make this work at the local level a little bit easier for you and to remove some of the red tape. So now I will turn it over to Ashley.
All right. Thank you so much, Dara. And thank you, everybody, for being here today. So, whether you're working in a school building with district leadership or you're in school connected health and wellness, I'm so glad that you guys are here. It's good to see some new names and some names that I'm familiar with. So, as Dara had alluded to, since the beginning of this year, we've been working closely with community teams across the state of South Carolina as part of a local cohort that informs our state level strategy that Dara is leading. So at this point, we have 6 communities who have stepped up to work on implementation projects within their communities. And several of them are focusing on areas around school, which seems pretty intuitive, but we are so excited about it. These communities have completed a short series of workshops. They've collected data and they've explored different assessment activities to inform their projects. And this has culminated into some funding opportunities and direct technical assistance from Wholespire. And I'd love to share a couple of examples of that today and some of that work that's taking place across the state of South Carolina and in and around our schools. So first up is Berea High School in Greenville County. This school sits along White Horse Road. If you guys are familiar with it, it is one of the busiest and it's also considered one of the most dangerous corridors in the region. There are fast food restaurants, there's auto shops, and there's some sidewalk infrastructure that runs side by side with the busy road, but not a whole lot that supports safe, active transportation for students or anyone else for that matter. Live Well Greenville and their community team has decided to focus in on doing some infrastructural changes like easy to see crosswalks with reflective paint at the high traffic intersections near Berea High School at their 4-way stop, including Berea Drive and then also Lions Club Road. They're also adding 2 yellow caution pedestrian crossing signs to increase visibility and safety around Berea High School. We know that addressing walkability around schools like Berea opens up more than just safer streets. It also affects attendance, participation, after school activities, and overall student well-being. Next slide, please. Okay, let's hop over to Bennettsville in Marlborough County, where we're looking at the intersection of Fayetteville and Tyson, which is just down the road from Marlborough County High School and McAlpine Stadium. This is a big campus with a lot of potential and a lot of community activity that happens over there, even during the summertime. But the surrounding built environment is not super supportive to pedestrian safety, with large trucks going in and out of this wide intersection, and other cars take that opportunity to use up that space of the wide turn lanes, which presents a real barrier for students who would otherwise walk or roll to school. So their team is hoping to implement some temporary lane markings to define turning lanes, including a painted bump out, which is where we expand the shoulder of the road to create more space between where a car is driving and the edge of the road. They want to paint some crosswalks to improve pedestrian visibility and safety, and then also add signage with lights, which we call rapid flashing beacons, to reinforce the already existing school zone signage that we have a tendency to start to forget exists and encourage reduced car speeds. Even these small infrastructural upgrades like these can make a big difference in how students and families navigate their school day. And when we consider access to after-school events like sports games or tutoring programs, walkability becomes part of the equation for access and participation. And now you all might be thinking, well, of course, Ashley, they're able to make these changes and improve safety. You know, they've received grant funds, or, oh yeah, these communities, you know, can do all this stuff because they've received, you know, this extensive and really expensive training. But what I want to tell you guys, and, you know, just something that I'm really proud of our teams about, is that these demonstrations are being done with a distribution of just a maximum of $6,000 to each community and a total of 13 and a half hours of training over the course of 4 months. And that includes the time that they spent presenting to us their findings to our technical assistance team, which was 4 of those 13 and a half hours. So these simply require some diligence, some dedication, and some diverse community buy-in. And with Wholespire and the access to our state level advisory group, we can lead you through this process. Next slide, please. So speaking of diverse community buy-in, you may be thinking, oh my gosh, well, who do I invite? Where do I start? So a couple of people that you can look into within the school and outside of the school. And what we've learned through doing this work is that having a variety of stakeholders at the table is what really makes these changes happen and are integral. So some of these people might be, for example, if you are working in a school, maybe your principal, most likely your PE teachers, school counselors, your PTA or PTO, your parent teacher organization. Student government bodies are always really great to have at the table, and getting that youth engagement. And also, they're the ones who are navigating this space. So having their information can really inform these decisions too. And then, of course, after school programming. Now, if you're looking outside of your school, you might want to engage people like your public health folks. You might want to talk to your local health and wellness coalition, public transit and transportation professionals, elected officials and city staff, of course, healthcare systems and offices, because we like to talk about access to our different needs throughout the day, not just school, but also healthcare. And then we also touched on, small businesses and the economic development professionals, your main street associations, because there's benefits for all of these folks at the table. We've learned that having a multidisciplinary team is integral to making these changes come to fruition and to gain perspective across the board. And really, there's nothing quite as impactful. I'm sure you all can agree if you work with youth. There's nothing as impactful as having youth engagement, not just for insight, but also being able to share that story with other stakeholders. Next slide, please. So now you're thinking, okay, well, what can I do? Where do I start? So let's talk about some options that fall within our 3 Ps framework: projects, programs, and policies, which we often use with communities to get them to start thinking about these short-term and long-term goals. So let's start with projects. Projects are tangible, visible, and engaging. These are great entry points to spark quick wins. And some examples are hosting a walk audit with students, families, and school wellness teams. You can use the AARP walk audit tool, which is available online for free. And it's a great way to start thinking about these infrastructural changes that need to take place for safer spaces to move as a pedestrian. You can organize a crosswalk art project to increase visibility. Now, what I will say, while there are some really beautiful examples of this, these are not necessarily approved by SCDOT currently, but if the road is city or county owned, it's still a possibility. And Pulsepire and our team is happy to help you figure out who owns that road so that it might still be a possibility. Another option is to also use art to decorate the quick build materials that are used in pop-up demonstrations to test out pedestrian safety measures. You can integrate walkability and mapping skills into a PE or a health class. And then you can also use books about walkability for literacy and health crossovers. As far as programs go, this is where a lot of school partners start. They're structured, they usually come with some sort of free toolkit, and they're adaptable to your local needs. Some strong options include the Walking Classroom, which is an incredible program that gets students moving while learning and can help people see the benefits of students moving more and begin to begin to assess safety of walking and moving spaces around the school, because you need somewhere for the kids to walk or roll during these lessons. Organizing a monthly walk to school day or testing out a walking school bus model. And then we also have the National Safe Routes to Schools program, which also has curriculums built into their toolkits for classroom use. That's just one part of Safe Routes to Schools, which focuses specifically on safe routes to schools and safe routes to parks. They have a scorecard. Yep, thank you so much, JC. They have a scorecard for each state that is updated each year that essentially scores each state on different factors that we know are supportive of safe routes to schools. You can find that toolkit and scorecard on their website, along with direct interventions that can be implemented as a response to those low scoring areas. This is a tool that Pulsepire is happy to assist in navigating, that we've used before. We also have some exciting news about safe routes to schools and an opportunity at the end of this webinar. So please stay with us through the end of our webinar to hear about it. And then you can also consider Pulsepire's Hype Advisor training to equip teachers and program coordinators working directly with teenage populations, ideally that 12 to 17 year range, on how to inspire students to think about policy, system, and environmental changes around walkability projects. Now, policy is where real systems change starts to happen. So, for example, one of the communities that we're working with right now is Westminster, and the school that they are doing some of their pop-up demonstrations with, they actually have a policy that prohibits students from leaving campus on foot. So that means even walking home after the final bell is not allowed. So, one of the focus points with our walkability work at Holspire is addressing local grassroots advocacy to promote policies like the one that's listed here, which is allowing students who are walking or rolling to dismiss just a bit earlier to create a safer space for pedestrians and create incentive for students to use active transportation to get to and from school. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with open community use, which is a policy change that helps to open up safe spaces, such as a school football field for community residents to use after school hours. So whether you're running a PE class, you're leading wellness initiatives, or you're managing grants, there's a seat for you at the table, and we're here to help you find your starting point. Next slide, please. So are you ready to hop in? There are two ways that we can support you. We can either link you into existing projects already happening in your area. Like I said, we have several counties and communities who are already invested in this work. You might not have to start from scratch, and there may already be a team moving forward looking for school champions like you. The other way that we can help is helping you start something new. If there's not already a project already taking place within your community, we'll walk you through the process, whether you're finding resources, crafting a strategy, or identifying partners in your district or town. This work is possible, practical, and powerful, especially when wellness professionals like you are involved. And now, you see this looming QR code to the right of the screen. And yes, I'm going to ask you to fill out this evaluation. But I did promise some exciting news about safe routes to schools, and all the more reason to fill out the form that's linked to this beautiful QR code. So Wholespire has been granted the opportunity to send at least 10, potentially more, invested individuals to the virtual Safe Routes for Schools Summit that's being held in October from the 28th to the 30th of this year. In our survey, once you go into that QR code, there is a box to click to identify your interest in walkability. Clicking that box will lead you to some additional questions. Make sure that you answer all of those, and we will make sure to follow up with you on June 4th. And of course, we look forward to hearing all of your thoughts and comments about today's presentation as well. So now I'd love to open up the floor for questions and comments. What stood out to you today? Are there any programs or projects that you're already involved in, or any ideas that you have? Or is there a barrier that we can help to solve in brainstorming together? Thank you guys all for being here, and thank you for all the work that you're doing to support our student wellness, safety, and opportunity. And let's keep this momentum going.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you, Dara. Fantastic information and great opportunities that are local to our state and local to our communities. Um, I have not seen any questions come up in the chat yet. This is a reminder that y'all are welcome to use the chat or the Q&A feature to submit those questions. Erica always has really great questions as well. So
I do. I have a thought, I have a comment, and a thought. I have a couple of things that were bubbling at the top of my brain while y'all were presenting. So, my first thought, my school people who are on the call today or who may be watching the recording later, I always like to think about what are those existing groups that are already coming together and meeting that they may align with these thoughts so that we don't have to pull together new partners if not necessary. And my first thought was school improvement councils. All schools, Title I schools, by law, are required to have a school improvement council. And the goal of the school improvement council is to ensure the safety of the school. And so I think there's a perfect opportunity for alignment there. So if you're trying to think like who's the first group I go to just to like plant the seed and present the idea that, hey, maybe this is something that we should look into, I would ask to get on the school. I know it's the end of the school year now, but I would ask when they're putting their agenda together for next school year, ask if you can show up to one of their meetings and have a few minutes on their agenda to start planting that seed. And so, with that thought, a question I have for you, Dara and Ashley, is Dara, I love how you set the background and got us all using this common language of walkability at the very beginning of a presentation. This is a very inbuilt environment. This is for many people, like, like I, I'm in the public health world, and like Dara, I had to go to the physical activity public health course a couple of years ago to learn more about built environment. How do people, if they're going, let's say, to their school improvement council to present this idea, what do they take with them to make sure that they actually are able to digest what's being asked, if that question makes sense? And Dara, it could be simple as you can take my presentation.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say you're more than welcome to use any of the definitions that I have shared today. As the state collaborative clearly starts working and getting more definitions, those things will trickle down the pipeline as well, so that everyone is speaking the same language. That hasn't been done yet, so yeah, you're welcome to take whatever I've shared today. I would also look at some of the words that are definitions and some of the meanings that you will find on the Safe Routes website and some of the resources that they have. I think they're a great place to start because they're speaking from that language directly from the school perspective.
And then Ashley, I think you did a great job of giving some easy to wrap one's mind around examples, whether it was a program or practice or a policy. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. I often share that I was previously with Clemson Snap Ed, and I was asked to engage in walkability work and help to assist in doing some of that built environment work, and just not knowing where to start. And this is where I wish I would have had this kind of information and just a clearer understanding of what it is and what can I actually do, what is possible, because they're, traditionally, and what we had found and where this work has kind of come from and where it's going is, making sure that we're not working in our silos and sharing that language, and knowing what each other is doing and understanding, like, how do I increase the safety around a school? Okay, I can do signage. Okay, I can do things like bump outs. So just learning and exploring that world has really opened up just a lot of opportunity and makes me even more excited to share it with people in this realm.
And I think, like both of you have mentioned, what's very exciting, and someone said in the chat at the very beginning, is that there's so much momentum growing around this. And I don't know if JC mentioned it in y'all's bios or not, but y'all have been doing this work together for less than a year now, which is very hard to believe because of all that you have accomplished in the past 8 or 9 months. And so what that means, the good news for the people listening is that so much more is going to be built capacity wise, whether it's at the state level, the regional level, at the local level. So if they start having these conversations in their schools, in their communities, they will be able to reach out to y'all as a resource to, like you said, get connected to how to actually get this work done. They're not on their own. There's a system of resources available to them that are being developed, which is awesome.
Yeah, and we're happy to
JC,
help anytime.
And I think that's
JC,
exactly the point. Oh, I'm sorry,
mhm.
Erica. Is that, Dara and I are able to serve as those liaisons to each other's work and inform each other's strategy, so that, there isn't a policy happening up at the state level and all of a sudden at the local level, we're just blocked from doing something. We're having those conversations, we're coming to the same table. And that's really, when I talk about diverse community buy-in, I mean it. I mean it.
Well, and then in case people haven't put the pieces together yet, JC and I work directly with Dara and Ashley. We are literally on the same teams with each other at DPH and Holspire. So we know that, when they say they're accessible and working towards something and available for something, they absolutely mean it. So, JC, have any comments or questions come through the chat?
Michelle commented about the school improvement council, like you said, and how they always welcome input. I included the Healthier Generation link. Many of our schools in South Carolina are actively involved with Healthier Generation, so that's a great conversation starter. That includes the active transportation piece. And we have a comment on thank you for your commitment to this game-changing initiative. I love that. Um, and I am sharing, oh, in the chat, there's the links for the evaluation survey from today, as well as a heads up that emails will be coming about how to pursue CHES IMCHES credits from this spring series.
I love how you didn't trust me to remember, so you said it for me, which I greatly appreciate. So can we give Dara and Ashley a virtual applause, please, because I just thank y'all so much, not only for taking the time to prepare for today, but also just taking the time to share your expertise and for all the work that you do and you're going to continue to do. And, maybe we have y'all back again on a future webinar to give us some updates on how those local level projects are going and then what additional resources y'all have available for folks. I do have one more shameless plug before I actually have several shameless plugs because this is our last webinar for this school year. But one, because y'all mentioned it several times, open community use, in case anybody isn't aware, that is my baby. So if you have any questions about open community use, which is again when schools allow communities to use their outdoor recreational facilities when they're not being used by the school, whether that's playgrounds, trails, tracks, courts, fields, green spaces, parking lots, you can always email me. I'll make sure that you should have my email address, but I'll make sure it's in the chat or in a follow-up. And we do have through DPH free open community use signs. So if you are allowing communities to come use your outdoor facilities and you want to better promote that, then you can get a free open community use sign if you complete the DPH open community use survey. And again, if you email me, I'll make sure that gets to you. And then a few more shameless plugs for our last webinar for this series is a huge thank you to our webinar planning committee. So the biggest of thank yous to JC for being my co-host and co-facilitator for each one of these webinars. JC, I greatly appreciate you, especially for being like the face of it. I have no problem being in the background, doing all the background work with you being the face because you have a beautiful one and you do a beautiful job of it. So thank you. I also want to thank
And
Juanita and
I know you're speaking quickly, but Erica, you have put all of this together and you have led us through it, and we really appreciate all that you have done and all that you continue to do. So thank you, and now you can continue with your plugs.
thank you, JC, for yours. I really appreciate it. I also want to thank Juanita and McLean, who have been hanging out in the background with me, doing all of the coordination for these. McLean has moved on to another job opportunity, but her colleague, Carrie, with Billington for Children's Wellness, has taken her place so graciously. And so we get the opportunity now to work with Carrie and Juanita again as we plan for next year's school webinar series. So JC sent the reflection link. Make sure you do complete that if you have any thoughts or ideas for specific topics or presenters. And speaking of presenters, we want to thank all of the presenters that we had this past year for sharing their expertise and their time with us and all the work that they do. Like JC mentioned, if you missed any of our webinars from the past several years, they're all housed at fullspider.org, so you can go catch them. I'm going to be honest, and sorry, Dara and Ashley, but I have to be completely honest. I want to say out of all these webinars that we've done, my ultimate favorite one was the one with the Fit Together, the students that we did back in September with Christina Cody. So Christina Cody literally did a roundtable discussion with her students that are engaged and empowered, and they don't say the future they're not the leaders of tomorrow, they're leaders of today, and they're literally the ones who are using data and proven practices and presenting it to their administrators to get practices and policies put in place. And that was probably one of my favorite ones that we've done so far. So definitely go check them all out, but especially that one. And with that, do I have anything else to share? Oh no, that was my last slide. So with that, just thank y'all again so much. JC, any final comments until we see these folks again next school year?
Shameless plug, Stayford's training peak is on Friday, the June 6th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We hope everyone will be there, and that's in the chat. Thank y'all again. Yes, it's been a great season.
Thanks everyone. Have a great summer and we'll see y'all again in the fall.